And you write something around the golden gun paradox. Can you explain what that is in that context that you just spoke?
So in these types of regimes, in dictatorships, the line between seeming stability and absolute chaos is extremely narrow. Because there's very little legitimacy. There's oftentimes not a greater project. There's nothing that people really believe in. To the extent that they support the dictatorship, they often do it because they think the dictatorship is inevitable. So opposing it is irrational and in many cases also extremely risky. Nobody wants to bet on the loser if betting on the loser can mean going to gulag or worse. So what you have in these regimes is that, these dictators, they have all these symbols of power. They've got these soldiers standing by. They're seemingly in control of the armed forces. And in the case of Gaddafi, he had a gun literally made of gold. So it was allegedly given to him by one of his sons, and it had all these intricate engravings. It was the ultimate symbol of power that you could possibly have. But at the moment when he could have used it most, which is when he was captured by rebels, it didn't do anything for him because the gun itself is useless. All of these symbols of power are ultimately useless once people no longer believe that the dictator is going to stay in power. And that's why sometimes you look at a regime, let's say Assad Syria, and you think, well, it's going to survive for another 10 years. And then, a day later, soldiers are just taking off their uniforms, throwing them by the side of the road, and they're done with the regime, and subsequently the regime is done.
Yeah, and that happened quite quickly, didn't it? I think it was November 27th when rebels took the second city of Aleppo. In December, first week, they went to the next city, and it all happened in very quick time. Within 2 weeks, the Assad regime, as we know it, was gone, and I think he's absconding now. So these things can also accelerate in no time. And Assad went to Russia, Iran, Jordan, among others, to seek help, but nobody wanted to fight with him or for him. So despite keeping people happy, when things go south, they go south very fast.
Exactly. That's the risk. And that's why sometimes it can also be so difficult from the outside when you look at these regimes to really tell where they are. A regime can seem incredibly stable, but really what you're looking at is a sort of dictatorial mirage where, all you have is that impression. But obviously the regime is very opaque, so you can't really look inside people's heads. There's not much transparency. Independent information is suppressed. So that's why oftentimes people get it so wrong. And, you got to have sympathy with experts on that sometimes because it genuinely is really difficult to tell.